All right, so let's get back to it. First depth chart drop, guys, and I know the disclaimer that always comes out is this is only the first depth chart. It doesn't mean anything. But time and time again, I feel like there's not too many changes from the initial depth chart. But obviously, we have to see these guys go out on the field. Not a ton of surprises, but I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on if there was anything that shocked you. I'll say, and Sheena, you touched on it. Seeing ETN, or excuse me, Achan, still locking down both the punt return and the kick return duties really had me a little bit interested because last time we saw Trevor Etienne return a punt, it hit his chest, hit the ground, and I mean, I'm sure he returned the punt after that. But in the game, he had a muff punt. And so a lot of fans, including me, are sour on him there. He wasn't even a punt returner in college, which is the weird part for me as well. But you said that Jimmy is going to have a real shot at something to say with that, about that. So
And I
can
think we
you
see it
sprinkle a little bit
Thursday.
more on that? But also give me if you had any other shocking thing that surprised you at all about the depth chart.
That's that like I said, like you said before, that is what Jimmy was known for. Jimmy was known, in the return game. So he did say that we will be seeing a lot more of that from him this season. And I would dare to say Thursday will be our first taste of that. For me, and this is probably purely because he's a rookie, is Will Lee being third string. He's not played like a third stringer. He's held his own against the ones. And with he's out on the boundary, he obviously is coming along well enough for them to be comfortable with moving J.C. Horn to the slot. So I think that says
Yeah.
a lot. But again, I think that the people ahead of him, it is really just an experience thing, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him move up that depth chart as we get through the preseason. But he certainly has not been playing like a third stringer to me.
You guys remember when Taylor Moton's blood clot issue came to light? Dave Canales said he called Monroe Freeling and said, "I didn't want to just give you this job. Like I wanted you to earn it. And but now we need you, and you're going to start the year. You're going to start camp at least as the number one right tackle." I think that's what we're seeing in some of these instances on this depth chart, as Sheena astutely mentioned, the Will Lee situation. Lee Hunter too. To me, it's a little jarring to me to look at the depth chart and see Cam Jackson starting, even though we were all standing there the other day when we saw him just walk Sam Heck back into the backfield like he was
He
a
not
rag
walked him
doll.
to the parking lot. To be honest, I thought he was escorting him for practice. The way that went down, I was like,
He
that's a
took him
large human
right
to
out
just
of my
move like
video.
that.
He just took him right out of the video.
It's a
But
large human to move.
he is, and if he can, if he can get the pad level down.
Yeah.
But my point is, I think Lee Hunter and Will Lee are falling into this deal where they just don't want to see these guys in the opening depth chart starting, and maybe Cam Jackson ends up holding him off and starting it because you're right. I mean he has a ton of potential, and they just don't grow guys that size, on every street corner. He is a big human. But I do think there's some of that. Let's make these rookies earn their spot on the depth chart at play here.
Yeah, Cam is huge. He's a little taller than Derek Brown, but very similar measurables in that 6'5", 6'6", 320, 330 range. I mean, and that's probably being
Yeah.
generous for him. He's huge. And like you said, if he can get his pad level down, that's exactly what he did. Get Sam Heck. And he learned the hard way about what happens when a guy that big uses his leverage. I actually thought Cam Jackson came off pretty strong down the stretch in the spot duty he had. He had that block kick against the Bucks, that pick against the Bucks where Baker threw. He was the one that kind of got the initial pressure that moved Baker off the spot. I thought against the Seahawks, he had a solid game. He got some reps there. Didn't play a ton last year, but again, his pad level did improve, and it's always going to be a work in progress when you're 6'6". So I want to see what he has. I'm assuming he'll play Thursday. So another opportunity to put some film out there. Lee Hunter will be able to play as well. I thought Lee was fairly disruptive in FanFest for whatever that's worth. I saw a couple plays where he got in the backfield there. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys duke it out. But of course, corner was a little bit weird. Like I agree with you, Sheena, but I think I'm just not sure how to get a read on what Corey Thornton is. Is he going to be that nickel? Is that why he's just kind of just there? Because there's no nickel on their depth chart. So maybe they just
Right.
sprinkled the nickel guys like Shaw in there as well
Yeah.
because they really had no other place to put them. I don't know if they look at Corey to play outside at all in terms of if they don't get what they need from Will Lee. I'm not sure. But it kind of is what it is. On the offensive side, though, obviously there's a little bit of there's lack of depth. But the one thing that stuck out to me was tight end. And seeing, and I guess they flipped it around on this version that I'm looking at now. Initially, I thought I saw Mitchell Evans ahead of Jatavian Sanders, but the new official version I see is not the case. But I
Yeah.
guess
No,
how
he is
that all
ahead of him.
he is
Mitchell's second.
okay, and
Mitchell's
I don't
tight
know
end
where.
too.
Yeah, I saw that on the initial one, but here's I guess the newer one. It was the case. So that was a little bit interesting to me as well. I know there were some questions about JT today to Canales, and he talked about him working on his route running and stuff like that. So that was always a question mark. Anything else offensive wise? I know there's some depth issues, so things will work itself out, and some Panthers fans may get a little alarmed seeing Stone Forsythe in two different spots as backup tackle
Hey,
on both sides. But
that's just the
um,
reality right now.
yeah,
What struck
I
me
would.
is all the tight ends on here. They currently have 7 tight ends on the roster, which I don't know. I know a lot of those guys are a lot of these tight ends often play special teams in preseason games. So I guess that's part of it. A lot of backup linebackers, a lot of backup tight ends on special teams. But yeah, Mitchell Evans and JT Sanders, that's an interesting battle because I think both of them have done some nice things. Sheena said Canales was really praising Sanders today. He sprained an ankle, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too serious. I don't think he'll play this week, but it's not like a long term deal. But and then Evans is back from an ankle sprain, so they've so far avoided injury to that position. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm hearing this feedback on my end.
I mean, even though, like you said, you don't expect this JT Sanders injury to be significant, the fact of the matter is he's missed a lot of time with injuries. He's missed a lot of games with injuries. This is what, year 3 for him, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's missed a significant chunk. To me, I feel like if you miss half or more, that's significant. That could be the thing that puts Mitchell Evans ahead of him. Um, because there was a lot of promise when JT Sanders came here. It was a lot of expectations that they were going to get more from the passing game that they hadn't gotten since they really hadn't got any production receiving wise from that position group since Greg Olson. Mainly the tight end had just been used as another blocker. And so we thought that the tide was turning, but then, he'll show flashes and then he gets injured. Then he comes back, shows flashes, and then he gets injured. So there needs to be some continuity and some stability in terms of him of keeping him healthy for him to be able to really factor in to even have a chance at being tight end one like he was expected to take over when he first got here.
yeah, I think that that neck injury, excuse me, against
Yeah,
the Chiefs, man, it just seemed like, and maybe it's that, maybe it's not, but
he
he
was
just like you
trending
said,
up.
he just showed a lot of flashes and promise as a rookie. I mean, he had a little bit of stuff I think even after that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I can't remember if that Saints game or that Chiefs game was first, where he hurdled the guy and ran for like 30 yards. And
yeah,
so like he's shown some flashes of athleticism, but
just got to stay
um,
on the field.
yeah, he just hasn't been able to consistently be healthy enough to put it all together. So hopefully they can get more from that tight end group to
Yeah,
really figure out what's what there. Anything else stick out to you guys on the depth chart before we kind of move on to the money talks?
no real surprises for me outside of the defensive side of the ball.
I am interested in the return deal because it just seems like that area is a little thin. Coker's been returning punts, but I think they prefer not using him there. It seems like they could just use another return specialist, and maybe it is Jimmy Horn. I mean, I think that could help his roster spot because I think Jimmy's going to have a real like we're 1 week into it or 2 weeks into it.